Dieting is just say no for food, right? Do you remember in the 80s when Nancy Reagan had the just say no campaign going on? She was at least the front of it. I don't know if she came up with that, but it was this idea that anyone that was thinking about doing drugs or that was doing drugs should just say no to them, right? And so I think we know at this point that that's not effective, right? Because there's a lot of other factors that go into what someone does, in terms of drugs. And certainly when it comes to food, there's more factors going on than just your inability to say no to the wrong food. And so you have to think beyond just that diet mindset, which is really just a willpower mindset. Same with the just say no to drugs. It's really this idea that you're going to just mobilize and gather your willpower and just say no to the thing that you shouldn't do, that you may be addicted to. And so, but what I would do, and I think with drugs now, it's very obvious, right? We now realize, yeah, when someone's addicted to drugs, there's more going on there, right, under the surface that needs to be addressed and dealt with. And that is the path to getting someone, clean and sober from things. And so it's the same thing with weight, right? And it's the same thing with the foods. I don't think it makes any sense. And if you look at your own experience, this idea that you're just going to wake up some Monday and start saying no to all the unhealthy foods that you've been eating in the past, I think is about just as effective. And so what you want to do is you want to start realizing there's more going on here. There's more going on than just you having to say no to it. There's a lot of subconscious factors influencing what foods you're eating, and your ability to say no to them really has a lot less to do with your willpower and just saying no. And it has a whole lot more to do with how you think about the foods, how you think about yourself, how you think about your behaviors. And so I guess to sum that up, it's really much more about your mindset. And so it makes a lot more sense when you want to lose weight to think of it as a path of creating a new mindset for yourself, as opposed to keeping the same mindset and then just magically all of a sudden being able to say no all the time to the wrong foods. Right? I mean, how many times have you tried this? It doesn't work. So this other path is one of discovery, of evolution, of growth. Again, the same path that when you see people that were addicted to drugs that get off of it, it's the same path they go through. It's a self-exploration process. It's not just this magical willpower that you summon out of nowhere, right? And so I say this and I make a big deal out of it because the diets are always low key giving you this message, right? Now they make it seem different because again, there's always this different strategy, this different tactic. I shouldn't call it a strategy because it's not a strategy, a different tactic that they're offering you. Whether it's just say no to carbs, don't eat for 12 hours, count your points, eat Mediterranean food, whatever, it's one tactic, but they give you the plan and then it's up to you to just start following it. Same brain you've had that was addicted to food for 30 years, but now all of a sudden you've got a new piece of paper and a plan in front of you and you're supposed to just be able to follow that perfectly. And when you put it that way, it doesn't make a lot of sense. However, a lot of times we fall into kind of the routine of dieting without really taking a step back and reflecting on what are we doing? What is our plan? Does it make sense? And a lot of times it doesn't make any sense. And that's my point here, is to really point out the ridiculous nature of dieting and to put it and to compare it again to just say no to drugs. It's the same thing. Just say no to drugs, just say no to food, right? It's bad for you, just start saying no to it. Yeah. You tried that, didn't work. And so if it hasn't worked for you and you find yourself unable to start a new approach to mastering your weight, the alternative is to really take a deeper approach to it. Just the same way we do with people that were on drugs, they start reflecting on deeper aspects of what is leading to do it. And that is what allows them to change their behaviors. And drugs are a lot more addictive than food, So if they can do it, you can do it. And what it requires, though, is a mindset-based approach. How do you think about the foods? How do you think about your goal? How are you framing it? What are your beliefs? All of these things are what you want to start focusing on. Now, again, the downside of this is that takes a little longer. Again, just say no diets. That approach is popular because it's so simplistic, right? The idea that you're going to start on a Monday and just start saying no to everything, it's very simple to understand. Oh, I'll just start saying no. Now, the fact that you've tried it 1,000 times and it hasn't worked, well, when you're in that state where you just want to lose weight, you don't think about that, but when you take a step back and look at it, you realize, geez, that's not working. So what's the alternative? Yeah. So the alternative is a journey of exploration. So right in the description, it's a longer process. It's a harder process in some ways, harder in some ways, because the hardest process to me is being stuck at the same weight, always thinking about losing weight and never doing it, because you keep trying the same thing, it doesn't work. So the self-exploration model really is about shifting your mindset of starting to understand yourself, create awareness, of who you are. Why are you doing what you're doing? You're not eating the donut because you don't want to lose weight. There's other reasons that are there. And as you begin to uncover those and understand them, you can start to go to work on resolving them. And just like someone who was addicted to drugs, who actually stops it, what do? They start to understand what are their triggers. What are the emotional states that cause them to use? What are the situation environments that cause them to use? Right? What are the people that trigger them? So they start to understand, they start to create awareness of themselves and of what leads to the behaviors that they want to change. It's a very eyes open process of discovery, of learning about themselves, and then creating strategies to move themselves in the direction they want to go in. It's not just, oh, I'm going to wake up one day, I'm on a no path. That ain't going to work. It doesn't work for anything pretty much, very rarely, And so the alternative is much, again, while it may be a little longer, may take a little longer, it may seem like a little bit more work, I guess. But ultimately you put yourself on a path that makes a lot of sense, and you can feel yourself, even if you're not exactly where you want to be, you can understand where you're at and how to get there. And that sense of knowing what you're doing and understanding the deeper factors that bring you in either direction, that cause you to eat the donuts or cause you to say no to them. We can learn from either of those and use that to move ourselves towards the ultimate goal of weight mastery. Okay. But it's a different process right from the start. And it can be a fun process because self-exploration is really interesting, if you allow it to be. The idea of dieting is not interesting. It's just you trying to force yourself to act a different way. It rarely works and it's rarely maintainable. And you don't learn a whole lot along the way. So the journey of self-discovery, not only do you start losing weight, but you start to understand yourself more and you learn about yourself and how you function as a human being in ways that's also going to benefit you in other ways other than just your weight. All right. So put yourself on the path of discovery and begin to approach your weight loss through changing your mindset. And the first step to changing your mindset is really developing more awareness about the subconscious factors that lead you to behave the way that you do. And as you begin to understand those, again, you naturally start to develop better strategies to deal with it and get you on the path that moves you towards the goal that you truly want.